Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Thanks for being here. I see some folks coming on in. Y'all, I gotta tell you, it is so wild being a person who lives much of my life with my face on the internet and the different way that video shows up across different platforms, because I've been testing my tech this morning for our event coming up this week, and Zoom had my hair looking like I looked like had black hair and was really dark, and then YouTube was a little different, and now on here I see very clearly my gray hairs. It's just really interesting, like how I'm a totally different person depending on the software that we're using. Yes, happy St. Patty's Day. I'm wearing my St. Patrick's Day shirt. I have matching shirts for me and my kids. This is an interesting day, though. This is not what we're here to talk about today. But for people who identify as pagan, because St. Patrick, he's known for driving the snakes out of Ireland. Well, the snakes are the pagans. So he was really at the helm of murdering anybody who did not conform to Christianity and the cause. So, and clearly, though, I'm wearing my Stay Lucky St. Patty's Day shirt. I do love the celebration I love getting together with people and just the music and the merriment, and it is one of my most favorite days of the year. However, when I do talk to my kids, when we read books about St. Patrick's Day, particularly because my husband was raised Catholic, and so, the stories of the saints and whatnot, I do point out that St. Patrick actually, that's what he's known for. So, where does that leave us? Anyway, food for thought. As a person who is wearing a green shirt today, who also celebrates the things, where I live in Connecticut, I live right between Boston and New York. So I'm right smack in the middle. And it's really interesting because we've got a lot of Irish and Italian heritage in the area, and the festivals, the Italian festivals and the Irish festivals that happen all year long are numerous and plentiful. And so it's just, I don't know. One of those things. I don't know an answer, and I don't know. There's no end to what I'm telling you right now. I'm just telling you, know the information. Do with it what you will. Being human is the most complex thing ever. Now you know. If you didn't know, now you know. And as soon as I'm done here, I will be chasing Irish soda bread, corned beef, a Guinness, and some good music. That's what I'm doing as soon as I am done here today. So again, do with the info what you will. Anywho, we are here today for our Sunday coffee chat. And I am encouraging you all, as I do every single Sunday, to think for your week ahead. So reminders of planning, of finance stuff, and then I want to give you a perspective, a way to shift your thoughts on both time and money today. And then I will try to leave us around 10:30 because I got a long line of people to stand in this morning to get a spot where I'm going at 10:30 a.m. So when we think about the week ahead, I encourage you, as always, to take time today or whatever day of the week makes sense for you, but take some time to look at your calendar, your planner, or whatever your device of choice is, and look at this next week. Putting things on paper is helping you to vision cast for the next week. Looking at your money. How much money do you have? Where did you spend your money last week? What was the return on that expenditure? Looking at your time this last week. Where do you want to make shifts this week and why? And get it down on paper. Now, I encourage you to ask yourself questions like, what do I want to change and why, based on you and not some force around you influencing you. So examples of that. If last week you spent, I don't know, $80 on several like fast food takeout experiences because you work full time, your life is busy, and you just didn't meal prep, right? I am not telling you not to spend that $80. what you want to ask yourself is that in alignment with what I want for my life? So did I feel healthy and good and like I was having the connection I want to have with my body and people in my life? Or did I feel disconnected from those things? Do I want to shift that? So it's not about changing because you feel like you need to cut back or something has to change. It's about making choices based on where you want to be, where you want to how you want to feel. It all comes back down to intention and how you want to feel, what you want to do in your life. And so what do you need to put on the calendar for this next week to make that happen? Where do you want to forward plan your spending? We have been having this discussion in our small group program with one of the members in particular who was like, I just want to stop spending money. And that's not often for many of us something we're just going to do. So where do we plan for our expenditures? Where do we plan for our time? So when you're planning for your time, you're going to start with the things that can't shift, time and money. You're going to start with what can't shift. If you have a job, those hours probably don't shift. You probably have to be somewhere where you have to be there. If you have appointments, commitments, all of those things go on first. Same with money. If you know you have things that have to be paid and like they're going to come out and you're going to be charged this week, these are these boulders that don't easily move. Over time, you can shift them. Like if you want to get a new job with different hours, or you want to switch your doctor so you don't have to go to appointments on certain days. You can go on different days or whatever, right? You want to switch your expenses somehow. You can move a boulder over time, but you don't move it right away. So these hard fixed items, you're going to put those everywhere first. From there, you're going to look at wiggle room. What's left? What's left of your time? What's left of your money? Where does your energy need to be aligned this week? And you want to forecast for the week ahead in both time and money. Great practice is to see what you did last week and understand where you didn't feel super great, where you felt off, where your energy was not aligned with what you were doing, and then make shifts this week based on what works for you and your energy, not based on whatever else the world is telling you to do. Which segues me into the topic that I'm bringing here today. I wrote in the chat to bring your time and money woes because those are what really plagues most people. And I stick by, if you're not the authority over your time and your money will be the authority over you, which is not helpful. And I wanted to bring to you the idea today of creation and changing to a creation sort of mindset, which is a perfect complement to many of the things that have brought you here today, like, witchery practices and manifestation and whatever it is that makes you feel powerful, whatever word works for you that brought you here. It's really creation energy and actively connecting and creating to the world around us, to our own energy, to however we are trying to show up in the world in the future that we're casting for ourselves. So right now, many of you know, because you've been here, I am away from home. I'm in Florida. I'm here with my grandparents. I am not a person who watches the news. I never watch the news, ever. That's not an exaggeration. I never, ever watch the news unless there's like, I don't know, something happening in real time and like the whole world's watching the news. But typically speaking, I don't ever watch the news. You might be wondering, well, Sarah, how do you know what's going on in the world? I read the news, and I always read from several different news sources. The reason for that, probably because I was a teacher and an English teacher and focus on teaching critical thinking and things like that, is to make sure that I'm getting a variety of tones, a variety of opinions. And there's a thing that happens when you read. You read in a certain tone in your mind. So you are interpreting based on your energy versus watching somebody tell you what's happening and the tone that they're taking and the amplification of that tone, right? Now, I'm bringing this up because my grandfather is 87. He has dementia. He watches the news all damn day long. It is so much. And I have never watched more news in my life than this being on. And it's so fascinating to me how negative it is, right? It's so negative. Now, I have a point here. I'm not just here to tell you not to watch the news, but you probably shouldn't, if I had to tell you, I'd tell you to read the news, don't watch the news, and read from lots of sources so you get lots of ideas and tones and use your critical thinking skills to decide things. But this news, right, when I'm watching it, I'm hearing it's just all, it's like negative, negative, negative. And I can see how a person living here in America, where I live, would watch the news and just think that nothing's possible for me because look at this world I live in. Look at this, like, the news stories yesterday. It was like gas, food prices, I don't know, like the other stuff going on. There's just lots going on, always lots, right? And what I think that is doing is influencing us to constrict more. So one of the things we talk about here, if you take our life alignment quiz, or if you're in holistic witchery and you read about the chakras, right? We're talking about expanding your energy. And when we have all of this, like everything is awful and hard, and look, here's evidence, here is support for the hard thing I'm experiencing right now. Like if you are like, oh, money's so tight, and then all you hear in the news is money's so tight, you're like, yes, I'm validated. I am being reinforced this idea that there's nothing I can do about it because it's too hard, the world I live in. And what this is doing is it's constricting our energy in a crazy way. And not only do I not like the news, but I really got to thinking, where are the stories of creation, right? Where are the stories of creating the money, creating the time? Because that's expansion. And they're not there because it's easier to feel sad and like impossible than it is to feel like there's infinite possibility in the face of something that feels like it's not possible. So I'm going to say that again. It's easier to be validated and feel like everything is hard when you're being reinforced that everything is hard, right? It's actually more challenging to hold the expansiveness of possibility when faced with a wall that feels insurmountable. It is harder. It's more challenging to stay expansive, which I think is why so few people do it, because it's so much easier to just be like, ugh, see, I'm right. Everything is hard and it's impossible. That is actually easier. And so that's why we do it, because it's easier. So I encourage you to shift from this energy when you think of your time and your money for the next week, and when you think of where it went last week, to shift from, what do I need to constrict? How do I either constrict more into limited time, or how do I constrict my money so that I feel safer? Shift to, how do I create what I want? How do I create more money? How do I create more time? How do I create? And nobody talks that way unless you run in circles like I do, in circles here. You're hearing it here, and some of your other circles might talk like this. But changing this, how do I shave off? How do I get more in? How do I shove it down? To, how do I create? How do I expand? How do I look at an angle I haven't looked at before? And that's challenging because most people don't do that. And we're not being reinforced by the world at large to think that way. And then when we talk to people like that, they just think we're weird or out of touch. I cannot tell you how many people think I'm weird or out of touch, because when it comes to money or something, I'll be like, all right, well, how do I create more money? And sometimes, I wrote an email about this, I think last week or the week before, creating more money means shifting. So I wanted to create more money for a thing I wanted to sign up for online. And I wanted to create more money for an exercise class, like program membership I wanted to sign up for. And yet I don't have more money coming in. Like, I'm salaried just like many of you are if you work. And so how do I create more based on what I have? So thinking of it that way, how am I going to create more for this? And I did cut out some things, but it was from this thought process of, I need to create this amount of money. So how am I going to do that? And then I sort of did an inventory. What am I spending money on that doesn't really feel great, or like makes me feel not so awesome? The same with time, rather than being like, oh, I have to squeeze more into my set fixed amount of time every day. Well, how do I create time for the thing that I want? And really, it's that subtle shift that will help you brick by brick tear down this wall of impossibility. Because when we just start to reinforce to ourselves, like, hey, I can create what I need, that wall starts to diminish. The wall that's making us feel like I don't have enough and I'm constantly looking for more. But it happens like one little bit at a time. We have to dismantle it one piece at a time. And this shifting from I must constrict to how do I expand? How do I create? It's a simple way to start to take that down and feel like you have the confidence and the ability to do this in your life and to take more chances on yourself and to go big with ideas that you might have or things you want to try, right? But it's wild to me. That was my takeaway. So I know I led this with like the news, but my takeaway was how all of this that was being like pumped in my brain. I mean, it's being pumped in my brain all day long. And thank goodness I am me and I have like my shell of optimism that I've created around me, my Sagittarius optimism, because I hear it and I'm like, oh my gosh, a person who doesn't have this thinking, this mindset, how do I want to feel? How do I want to expand my energy? What shadow work is making me feel like, what shadow thing is making me feel validated and like, oh my gosh, they're right. The world's on fire. Nothing's ever going to be good again. And how do I change that? The method that we teach in Holistic Witchery, if you're in there, use that. If I didn't have that, I cannot imagine most people sitting around and just like shrink, get smaller. Everything's hard. Everything's negative. And it really stuck out to me, like the lack of creativeness that I hear and the lack of creation and the lack of just possibility, and where like the people that are doing wild things right now and the people that are making it happen, the people that are, you know, just shifting and expanding. And where is that? Where, and that's not to say the world's not hard. I mean, I'm a small business owner. I can tell you things are damn hard. I've heard just this week, three small businesses I know that have closed in the last week. Things are like, I'm in touch with reality. Don't get me wrong. I'm very much in touch with it. And also, I happen to know two of those small business owners are like of the type who would watch, probably like consume a lot of media. And one of them is not. And the difference in the businesses closing is night and day. One of them is like, you know, I tried really hard. I learned so much, and it's just another door. Like there's just another door that's going to open. I don't know what it's going to be, but I have to close this one to make that other one open. So I'm going to tidy this one up with a bow, shut it down, and then I'm going to see. I'm going to take like a month off and I'm going to see what happens. Where the other ones, it's like hard stop, lack of communication, like negative energy, defending themselves on comments on social media. And you can see it, like where one person who's suffering the same end result as these other two is like, I'm going to create something else. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to do it. And the other ones are just like, you know, getting in the comments and like, I'm like, never get in the comments. Don't get in the comments. And so there's something to be said for this creation. So as you look ahead to the next week out and you put in your planner what you're going to do with your time, when you forecast for your money, whatever your goals are, whatever you're working on right now, how you want to feel, if it's your fitness, your, like I always say, I do a lot of hiking with my kids. It's just me and my kids in the woods hiking. And my main goal for exercising is really to be strong enough. I mean, they're still little. They'll be 7 and 10 so soon. Rather than 6 and 9, I'll be saying I have a 7 and 10-year-old. So they're still young, but if something happens to them, I have to be able to like carry them to help. And they're not grown, like they're not even teenagers, you know? So my main reason for exercising, one, is to be able to continue hiking safely by myself. So if something happens, I can get them out of there. And two, because I'm watching my grandparents age, who were not taking care of their bodies super well. My grandfather has huge mobility issues from just not staying mobile. And my grandmother, she fell a couple of years ago and broke both her arms, and she did take care of herself, but she never took care of her muscles and her strength. So her like inner body is like frail, right? And I'm witnessing this. So that's my second reason, motivation, is to be healthy. What I do now, be healthy years and years from now, and to be able to do the things I want to do, which requires safety and requires taking care of myself. So for that reason, I prioritize that on my calendar because I know why I want to do it. I know where I want my money to go and why. I know where I want my time to go and why. So vision cast, when you set your plans for the next week. What are you doing and why are you doing it? And is it from this creation place? How can you create for yourself as opposed to just shrinking and getting smaller and being like negative and in fear and like everything is bad and awful? Because I will tell you, if you're listening to the world at large, there is a lot of bad and awful. There's so much bad and awful. And you being in that bad and awful is not helping anybody. It's helping 0% of people. Not you, not your neighbor, not the people you interact with at the gas station, nobody. Negative 0%. Can we have negative 0%? Can I buy a vowel? That's who you're helping, negative people. So shift to creation. How are you creating the things you want next week? All right. That's a whole word vomit I just gave you. Let me check in the comments here. Checking. Oh, and I see like the love for the Irish heritage. Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's like if one of the things we teach is the chakras, right? And that is from ancient Indian texts. And, I'm not, every time you do yoga or anybody does yoga, are we sitting down like reading the Bhagavad Gita before we do our yoga or the Yoga Sutras? Probably not, right? So we can take these things and also look at with the knowledge of where they come from, which is important. Like, how did we get here? And how do we also use it today? Both and. Where did it come from, right? And how are we doing it today? Let's see here. Just checking. Yeah, the negative energy. Let's just back away slowly or quickly. Tony's given some time to do overtime for double money. Yeah. People, I get quite asked quite a bit about, because I've been in debt tens of thousands of dollars in debt several times over, from credit card debt and medical debt and tax debt and student loan debt. And for me, it's always about creating more money. Like I'll be honest, my go-to method has never been to like shrink my spending, because it's not super effective for me. It's always been to get more money. So how do I do that? Does that mean when I was self-employed before, I am now, but with my other business, like take on more clients, change my rates, or like, what are the opportunities that get me more for my buck? Like for my last business, I did one-on-one sessions with people, and then I also did consulting for schools. Well, what I found was for consulting for schools, I charged more and I got in front of more people because I'd be in a group doing these consulting periods. And then through that, I would get more referrals because more people knew about me. So if I had the opportunity to take on a one-on-one client for like a one-off, that might have been easier up front, but I would always take the school opportunity, which would require more of me and more time. But I knew that in the long run, I'd get more referrals. So thinking in that creation energy really is helpful when it comes to money. And then, yeah, when I was in credit card debt, like years ago too, I worked 2 jobs, 3 months without a day off, but I got that debt paid down really fast and saved so much money on interest. It was worth it. It was worth every minute of it. Pamela Sharon, not working any longer, had to start thinking differently about creating money. Opened my first CD in September. I've already made $100. Not much, but it's more than I would have. Yeah. Creation. Think about creation. Keep Denise, 59 is so young. Keep growing. Let's see here. Oh, Deborah said spent years being glued to the news. Now I can't stand to watch it. Yeah, honestly, I go through various like mainstream news sources, but I go to their website and read directly for myself, rather than watching videos of news. And then I watch from all different opinions, also like different sides of the opinion meter to see what's going on. Helping negative people, helping constrict others. Love that. Meredith got funding for the special needs dance class I teach, and my favorite part is the effort was spearheaded by my assistant who is special needs herself. Love that, Meredith. High five. Confetti. Confetti. All right. I'm just checking the comments again in case I miss anything. Want to create money for the next holistic witchery. Do it up. Create that money. All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to do a shorter one today because I am going to go stand in line for some for some corned beef, cabbage, a long line I'm going to stand in to get that. So I'm going to head out. By the time I get there, it'll probably be packed because it'll be closer to lunchtime. But I love these comments still coming in. So I'm going to read one more. Cat created a 1K by shopping auto insurance. Not easy to do in Florida. Yes. Yes. Okay. I got to tell you that I think the best thing you can, when I say if you don't have authority over your time and money, they will have authority over you. And this is a conversation for a whole other day. But if one thing, I've been self-employed for 10 years in May, and my husband was self-employed before that. And I did not grow up knowing people who did not work mainstream jobs and have things like benefits and health insurance and 401ks. In fact, my mom didn't work for like a whole year when I was in high school, and we were federal poverty line with income, and even with the child support that she received, we were then at federal poverty line. Like, so I come from not money, and I do not know people who have money. And one thing I've learned in the last 10 years is that everything we think is the only way, there are infinite other ways. We just don't know how to access them, or we've never heard of them, or they sound too scary because they're unfamiliar. And I have been able to navigate so many unexpected, like I had my first baby, we had $100-something thousand in medical bills mailed to our house. So it's not exactly, they were mailed to me, $100,000 of bills. We did have health insurance, but at the time we were self-employed, and it was before health insurance changes. So maternity care was not covered. And so like over 100K in bills, right? We did pay out of pocket like 24,000 of it, which is, don't get me wrong, a huge sum of money. But we did not pay that all at once. We paid it over time because it was a medical bill, and there's no interest on medical bills. And we called and renegotiated and renegotiated and renegotiated. And so many people, I think, feel scared of things that are outside of what we just know. Like, we know to be safe. We've been taught what it looks like to be safe. And I'm not here telling you to like go dump your whole life on its head. But if you feel like you can't grow and expand and be creative, I really encourage you to look at the stories you're holding about what's possible for you, and where you're just trying to be in status quo and safety because it's what you know. And that's what we do in our fourth eye and the framework we teach, ideate, because we can't grow outside of what we know unless we're actively trying to. We can only move forward based on our frame of reference, which is where all of the ritual and crystal grids and like spell work and ceremony comes in, because it helps us to expand our thinking and our energy, and why we love to do it in community, because it helps us to hear from other people and maybe observe an option we didn't know was possible before. There are infinite options when it comes to time and money, but we don't know them. Most people don't know them, and they don't feel easy, and they don't feel safe, and they feel weird. And like, you already feel weird, so now you're weirder. And I'm here to tell you on this day when I don't know what is running through me. But the first thing is to start to think from a mindset of creation, and not how do I like shave away and get everything smaller and tidier and neater and constrict more and more and more. It's how do I create more of what I need? And if I have only this like bucket of money and this like bucket of time, what do I just shift to create what I need for this other thing right now? How do I create the time? By shifting the time I'm using one place to another place. You're still creating it. It's like a shift as opposed to a constriction. So really just changing the way you think about it is a very good first step to anything else that will come next. All right, I'm really leaving now to go chase my corned beef and cabbage. If you're participating in our live event that starts this week, I'll see you at 11 a.m. for that. We do kick off Holistic Witchery again in just 1 week. So if you wanted to join us in that, it is coming around the corner, and we're really excited to start that again next Monday. All right, y'all, have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.